Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
How are you doing, everyone? Episode 67. 67 of these goddamn things. Still going strong. Still going mostly weekly since the coup started.
It's been pretty, I think the most we've been off is maybe by 10 days. So I went back and looked at our archive, not realizing how early we started doing the podcast. And yeah, if we got one out every couple weeks, we were lucky.
Yeah. There'd be a time where we'd get like one in like 2 months. It'd be like, oh yeah, we should do one of those.
Yeah. But no, we definitely trying to make a point of it to be a little more consistent for you guys. And for those of you who do listen, we truly appreciate you all. But Jim, as always, before we get into anything else, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking the Snake Dog IPA by Flying Dog. My wife actually surprised me when she went on a trip to Acme this week and grabbed me a 6-pack of some random beers, and then forgot that she grabbed me two of the same, so I am drinking those too. He slithers through the city in search of his face. No place too seedy, no place too fake. They're all on the menu tonight, and of course she'll find them irresistible, for it's the forked tongue she prefers. I don't know what that means. But it does come in at 7.1% alcohol by volume, so that's pretty good.
And it was Snake Dog IPA?
Yeah, by Flying Dog.
Flying Dog. Oh. See, Flying Dog's always a weird one. They have some decent and then a lot of painfully average to not good beers.
Yeah, this is... they're always a toss-up. Let's put it that way. Let's be nice, I guess.
All right. So I'm drinking from Abita, from Abita Brewing Purple Haze Raspberry Lager. It's only 4.2%, so that's starting off
Smooth.
easy. And as the originator of this bit, clouds of real raspberries swirl in this tart and tantalizing lager, brewed with Pilsner and wheat malts, along with Vanguard hops. Let the scent of berries and this hazy purple brew take your taste buds on a harmonious journey inspired by the good vibes and free spirits of New Orleans.
Brian, can you say you vibe to that like the kids do?
Well, it's very...
Brian, say you vibe.
I vibe! I also dab, Jim. But no, this, it's very interesting looking. I don't know why they're saying purple. Or, yeah, I there's nothing even slightly purple about the color. It's extremely cloudy. It's like very hazy, and for a lager, that's kind of weird. So I've never tried this. Not gonna lie, the smell is not entirely appetizing. But yeah, that will be my first one. Then I'll move on to something much better later on.
Not much of a smell to my Snake Dogs. Gotta say that. I am drinking them straight out of the bottle, so that's always a thing. But
yeah, how are you drinking some out of a bottle? We've talked about this, that it matters to pour the shit out, and it, gets better flavor.
Fine, well, after I do my first one, I'll drink the damn in hell and goddamn get my tulip cup.
Also, you always had the worst ability to, smell stuff. I think you're just always, stuffy or something. I'm either always stuffy or I just always have snot crammed up there, since as a former smoker, which probably also killed my my smell buds, I also had to replace, smoking a cigarette out of a car window with picking my nose. So there's just shit crammed up there for years. Damn it, Jim.
Had to keep my hands busy, Bri. I'd either be shoveling food in every car I drive or going to Booger Town. I think I made the right call.
No, I don't think you did.
We'll let the people decide, Bri.
Yes, people, please decide on which of Jim's habits is worse.
Should Jim be fatter? Should Jim go back to smoking? Or should he keep picking his nose?
Or going to Booger Town, as he puts it so eloquently. You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
God, why do you do this? Every time we start this, I'm like, this is the episode I'm going to be really nice to Jim. And then you come out with Booger Town.
I don't know. It's just all part of my charm, Bri. I have a magical ability to derail you.
You sure do. All right, so now that we know what you're drinking and that you've been to certain towns, what are you playing, if anything new?
I've been going through some more of the backlog. So I went through the story mode and did a little bit of the arcade mode and dabbled a little online with Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which is the new Power Rangers fighting game from last year.
How is it?
It's fun. It's just overpriced. That's the biggest problem with it. Like, when it first came out, it only had the arcade mode and, like, 8 playable characters and online mode, and it was, like, $40 digital. So that was, like, really overpriced. But then they went back, they've added more characters, and they added a story mode to it, which you can finish it in, like, 3 hours. It's not a lot, but, like, it's fun for what they put in there. Like, I got it through limited run, because of course I did. So it was a little bit more, but they also threw in all the DLC, so it kind of made it worth it in the end for once. So
How much you pay for it?
It was $60.
Oh God! Of all the games you wait to get cheaper, you didn't want to wait for that to be cheaper.
That's the only response I have.
So, all right, it originally had only 8 characters with the DLC added. I thought the whole gimmick of that was it was like every generation of Power Rangers.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2 from like a bunch of the generations of Power Rangers. So there's some from SPD, there's some from Time Force, there's some from one of the other ones, there's one from the movie, and then they eventually added a lot more from like Zeo. I think Zeo was one of them, and some other ones. Lord Zed eventually got in there, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so there's like close to 20 characters now in it. And it's got that same kind of like team-based combat that like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or Dragon Ball Fighters, something you'd have with that. And it's very like simple. It's not like a super complex fighting game, so it's just like fun. You can pick it up and like anyone can kind of play it and like be somewhat competitive.
But do you have the ability to like pull off like some kind of kick-ass big move and like somehow incorporate like all the what the hell are they called, the Megazords and shit?
Yeah, you can call in assists from your characters, and like once per round you can call in an assist from the Megazord. So the Dragon Zord will like shoot rockets at. Oh no, that's Tommy's special attack. But the Dragon Zord will like do his drill tail into you, or the Megazord will like put the sword down and swipe it across the screen a couple times. Or I think Goldar, and then they added later on the SPD Megazord too.
Dude, that's one game, that's one franchise, that's another one. You and I had so much fun with the Super NES fighting game.
Yeah.
I remember that was like
damn good game.
I mean, it was one of our highest rated. Now, granted, it was probably because we had just played pure dog shit for so long. But, yeah, why would they not just have an all-encompassing, here's every Power Ranger, just throw it together, even if you're using, a MAME engine or something. Like, why can't they seem to put that together? Like, I would definitely go out and buy. I was interested in this one, and I kind of was glad to see you had it, because now I was like, ooh, maybe I'll pick that up. But
I tell you to wait for a sale, or if we ever review it, you can just borrow my copy. But
yeah.
no, I mean, like the Super NES one, like that used the same engine as the Gundam Wing game, which are like 2 like really good fighters, so it just had like an amazing engine. And I guess it's probably just licensing why they don't have every single character. I don't know, maybe Saban has some kind of crazy per character licensing fee or something. Maybe that's why it was so expensive in the first place. Because that's all I can think of. Because for the content you get, it wasn't worth the price. But luckily, it's still like a really fun game, and it's like an actual full package now.
Is there any, like, maybe we're digging too deep, but is there any, like, unlock, like, after you beat it with people, you unlock extra outfits or anything?
You can unlock at least one different outfit for every character, and, like, as of, like, the package I got, I think once they threw DLC 3 into it, like, as an update, they were all just, like, unlockable. So if I beat arcade mode 4 times, I'll unlock all the characters left to unlock. To bring it to, like, 20-some. So they give you reasons to come back. And pardon me. And the online mode, like, surprisingly works well. Like, it's multi-platform now, so it's, like, cross-platform across everything. So, Switch, Xbox, PS4, fucking Stadia, and Steam, I think, is the ones. So, like, you can find matchmaking now. They fixed that problem. And even, I was playing on Switch, and there was no lag. So, they put some work into that net coding. I'll give them props there.
Nice. All right. So, that's kind of been your main game for the past week?
That was like the first half of the week, and then lately I've been playing Blazing Chrome. So that's the Contra 3 like love letter game that came out last year.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Was it indie developed?
Yeah, it was indie developed.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
So
it's
your basic side-scrolling shooter.
side-scrolling exact rip-off of, like, if you took, like, Hardcore and Contra 3 and, like, made them have a baby, this would be the game you get. So nothing really original, but it's good. It's a good time. And luckily on normal they give you, like, infinite continues, so it's very beatable. So if you really want to challenge yourself, then put it on hard, basically.
So probably at most that should be like a $10 game.
I think you can get it for like 10 to 15 on, what do you call it, anything. It was on Game Pass when it first came out, too. I don't know if it's still there. So if you have Game Pass, there's a good way to do it.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I've actually done a mishmash of games. One was a side-scrolling, not roguelike, but I'll just call them a side-scrolling hack and slash called Die for Valhalla. Very interesting game. You basically are the spirit of a Valkyrie, and you resurrect a dead Viking. You fight as them for a while. You can power them up to like 3 or 4 levels, and then if you die, you just go and resurrect another one and kind of start over. Just a very, very simplistic, but like one of those more like the hand drawns. Like, do you remember Castle Crashers?
Yeah.
It's like that art style, and that is always one that's kind of appealed to me.
Okay.
I did that for a little while, and now I've been digging my heels into Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
I always heard that was really good. I
Dude.
obviously hasn't played it, but it's really good from what I hear.
Oh my god!
And that was an indie developed game too. It's like AAA quality.
It's from Ninja Theory. I think they're based out of the UK, and it actually inspired one of our topics a little later. So I won't dive too deep, but all I can say is it's one of the most unique gaming experiences I've had, and I'm not overshooting it. Like, what you actually do in the game, it's essentially a action-adventure puzzle game with combat that's equivalent to, like, hack and slash. Like, but it's the story and whatever. So I don't know if you would like it or appreciate it quite as much, because it is very story and cinematic heavy.
Yeah.
But the elements that make it interesting is you have no HUD, and all of your warnings or clues are audio cues. So they say at the beginning, like, highly recommend it. You have to wear headphones when doing this. And it's one of those games that when you have your headphones on, it's what's the word? Not binary, but acoustical. Like, it's basically you hear sounds from every single direction in your ear. So you'll hear something behind you to the right, you'll hear something in front of you to the left, and it's like noise is kind of the biggest part of the game. Yeah, it's a great game. And so that'll be the one I'd finish up probably within the next week. So yeah, it's one of those going through my back catalog, and that was one I was like, let me just sit down and do this.
Nice.
So very, very happy I did that.
Yeah, I always heard good things. One of these days, maybe, hopefully, I'll get around to it.
You should. Well, what's nice is I always, when I start a game now, I always like go on. Have you ever gone on the site How Long to Beat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I always check that out. I think like the most, if you're taking your time, is usually like 8 to 9 hours.
Oh, okay, that ain't bad.
So if you're really going through fast, you could probably plow through in like 6. Or if you're spending like way too much time looking at everything, it's like 10.
Oh, dude, that's fine. Yeah, I'm at the point where now if I see 15 hours, I'm like, ugh. But like 8 to 10, that's perfectly fine for me.
Exactly. That's what I'm going through my catalog, and I'm like, all right, I have a lot of RPGs, I have a lot of this. I don't feel like starting any of those. I was like, let me find a game I can just bang out like in a week or 2.
Cool.
All right, so before we move on to our typical Patreon questions, you might have noticed from our Instagram or our Twitter or Facebook, we now have merchandise available. And it's actually through teespring.com/drinkabeerandplayagame. And you can see the link below for it. Right now, I've been playing around with a few different companies trying to figure out which one is the best as far as getting something out to you guys. It's something Jim and I have been discussing for well over a year.
Yeah.
We went through all the different avenues. Were we going to print shirts ourselves, so then we ship them out to you? This was what made the most sense to be able to get you guys something. If you want to get merchandise, help support us. And it was highly customizable. And my favorite part is they handle the shipping, they handle the manufacturing and everything. And essentially, the best benefit for using this place seemed to be that every item has a base price, and then we set the price above it. So it's more flexible in terms of how we set prices versus other places where it'll be much more expensive. Like a typical tee might be like $30 or $25, like right off the bat.
So as the shit out of this.
Yeah, they really do. So
no, I meant
right
us.
off the bat. Oh, damn it, Jim. We love our fans.
Buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, so right now, all that's available, there's a few different versions of men's t-shirts. Really, the differences, there's certain quality differences, but also the color selection available to us through each of them. And then there's a lot of like mini accessories. And I was just playing around. The first thing we wanted to get out was our logo that we have. So we have like a few different stickers. We have phone cases. What else do we have there? Phone cases, stickers, coffee mugs, and I have some other things that'll be coming out. We've actually had a request for a women's tee, and we're going to be putting that out, as well as hoodies and sweatpants and things of that nature. But
I think I think a pint glass would make the most sense.
It would, but unfortunately they don't have that available.
Son of a bitch. That's
the first thing I saw. I was like, of course, the one thing we really should have, but I've been looking into other options for that as well. So we are also looking and potentially going to be creating other forms of merchandise for you guys. So please, if you like the show, if you don't want to support us on Patreon, please feel free. If you want to check out the merch, try it out. Hopefully by the next episode, we may be able to have some of it to display to you guys. We're trying to order samples right now. So either way, just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Yep, so go buy it. Go buy one of everything. Buy it for your friends.
Damn it, Jim. All right, so do your spiel, because I know you're all geared up to do it.
Patreon.com/DrinkABeerPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on this Power Hour podcast. And this week, we have a ton of questions. You guys came through big time.
Yeah, you sure did. So thank you guys.
Making our jobs easy this week.
All right, so Jim, you read them off. I put them in here, but I didn't put who wrote them. So
yeah. And you always put them in reverse order when you put them in, too. I don't know how the hell you look at them.
So what's revoice?
Revoice. It's the Brooklyn version of reverse, obviously. My strong New York roots coming through once again. But first up, from Game Whisperer Dean, a horse in any game is always a good move. What game has your favorite horse?
Ooh, I like this question. And yes, in most games, horses are pretty key. If I'm thinking games, initially I was going to say something like Breath of the Wild, but that horse didn't impress me quite as much as the one in Red Dead Redemption. And specifically, as I've talked about, if you get the Undead Nightmare DLC, there's the Horses of Apocalypse. So there's 4 specialty undead horses that have crazy stats, like unlimited stamina, super fast. They're incredibly hard to tame, but once you do, it's a game changer. It really makes like the game a lot fun, and something about riding around on, I think it's War the horse, like, and he's got like the flaming footsteps. It just looks so badass, and so that was easily for me. That's my favorite horse in a game.
All right, solid answer. My answer is going to be Yoshi.
That's not a horse, Jim.
Bri, Yoshi's a goddamn horse. Bri, do you ride him?
Give a better answer.
Do you ride him? Does he eat apples?
Jim, when does a horse shit an egg?
They don't shit eggs. I'll give you that.
Yeah, you're right.
But they do everything else horse related.
Why don't you? If it was just animal character, if it was companion character, I'd let you slide. I need you to give a real answer, Jim.
I'm sure Yoshi makes some delicious glue, too.
Jim, Real answer time.
Fine.
Favorite horse?
Fine opponent from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, you would say that.
You have to free him. You have to free him from his slave captor. And then he can ride over Hyrule and makes your life so much easier.
Stupid horse.
Beautiful horse. Beautiful steed.
Overrated game.
I mean, Yoshi's a better horse, but I'll go with opponents like a close second.
Jim, you don't know your animals.
Bri, I know things.
You know nothing about horse husbandry.
Horse husbandry? Is that like when Chris Pontius drank that horse cum in Jackass 2?
Jim, we're trying to be a family show here, and you got to pull out that filth.
Since when? This is news to me. I've been doing this wrong the whole time. No wonder we're not more famous.
That's why we need to get our language down so we can be open to everyone watching us.
Yeah, right. The horse spunk. There you go. See, just added that in.
Thank you.
Next
Good
up,
question.
Good one, Dean. Next up from Gamer Astral, DBPG Twitch when? Hey, Brian, why don't you tell everyone about your little soiree with Twitch trying to get it back for us?
So,
either we're retarded or Twitch is just out of its mind.
Twitch is fucking terrible, and I've seen other people complain about this. It is on par with some of the highest level security for what I think is one of the most innocuous things you can really be trying to secure. It's not like a fucking bank, but essentially, Jim kept fucking up. Kept putting in the wrong password. Tried sending me the code. It didn't go through.
You were never awake, so the code never went through.
So essentially, it locked us out. And once it locked us out, I was like, oh, it's a simple. I'll just go in there, say forgot password, like everything else the way it's encrypted. But this one goes, well, no. Now we have to. The only way you can come in is if we send you a code to your phone. Well, at this time, at the beginning of this fucking pandemic, my phone broke. So I had my separate other phone that I was using. No way to access my original phone. So there's an option. Change number to receive. Okay, that's good. Put in my new number. Well, you have to already have the old number registered with this thing called Appy. And it's a whole goddamn process that I had to wait almost 2 or 3 weeks for them to approve my new number, send me that number, then I could go into Twitch, reset it up. It was just the most convoluted and over-the-top security for fucking Twitch. So finally, we got it. It's all solved now. No issues. But dear God, dude, it was just an experience where I was like, you've got to be shitting me. So we're available now. We've always been available on Twitch, but now we have the codes again. Jim and I have said in the past, neither of us.
We can't commit to a schedule.
We can't commit to a schedule, and honestly, there's a lot of times, like if I want to record footage for a game, I don't want that annoying like Twitch stuff over top, and I don't want to pull the quality from it. So it's a fine line, especially if we're making videos of, do we just want to record for whatever, or are we recording for a video purpose? So
yeah, like I would have loved to have. I actually really wanted to stream all the Streets of Rage games before 4 came out, and then with all the bullshit, it was like, well, this ain't happening. And like,
but you're not able to beat 1 or 3 without me, so it doesn't matter.
Incorrect, sir. Well, probably 3, but
and 1.
You can't do it.
You're not getting past those twins without me.
Oh yes, I am.
No, you're not.
I got through them when I was 10.
No, you didn't.
So yeah, I mean, it's always a random time, and like I'm like, anytime I've ever tried to log in, it was always been like a random Saturday night at like 11 o'clock, and it's like my wife's like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed, and I'm like, well, I'm not tired yet. And then I try to log in, and then it would send a code to Brian's phone, and then he wouldn't have the phone on him, and then nothing would ever happen. So now we can do it whenever we can.
Yeah, exactly. So we're available there. Just go, just stay watching our Twitter and Facebook. Hopefully we can get better also about, instead of an hour before we're about to stream.
That'd be nice.
Plan this shit out.
That would be nice in a perfect world, but... Yeah, thanks, Astral. That was a very long answer for a 3-word question. Next up, from G to the
Jim,
next...
shut the fuck up. This next one, save for the last, because I was actually going to make that its own topic.
Oh, all right.
The last of the Patreon questions, I'll say.
Okay, so next up, from Nerdy Nick. We were all there in the early days of Xbox Live and online gaming. The DMs were death threats and dick pics. What was the time that you got absolutely roasted in an online game and the chat went, "Oh"? See, this is tough because I almost never play anymore without just being like in a party chat with friends. So
Yeah, I think there was a few games that I did play like party chat, like early on with when we would do Call of Duty, and if we weren't in a party chat, or sometimes we'd purposely not go party because we wanted to talk shit with other people. I never had a moment where like I got owned and people were like, oh shit. The biggest thing is I just know like me and my buddy Juan, like when we were playing Call of Duty a lot back and forth, I would be talking, like we would talk shit to each other about like, dude, you're going to let him get you like that? And I remember one time, like just multiple times, he got knifed like 10 times by this guy. I think
Jesus.
the guy's Xbox name was something like Uncle Mike. And I just kept going like, Uncle Mike is fucking you up. And the guy was talking shit the whole time. So like that was just one of those moments. But other than that, honestly, we just didn't do chat because we realized chat was usually just a bunch of 13-year-olds telling you how they fucked your mom. And you're like, oh, no, you didn't. Like, it was just we knew right off the bat, so that was never fun.
Yeah, and the most like spats I ever had would be from like DM after, whether like someone would either say like if it's a game where I magically did well, they'd say I'm hacking, or we would all just start DMing a guy who was obviously cheating, and we would just start shit talking him even as we're playing like the next game and trying to type it out like the awful way with an Xbox controller, like taking like 5 deaths in the meantime, almost getting booted for an activity, but we had to get that last burn out there. So that was the most of it for us.
Dead Light is a game. No, not Dead Light. Dead by Daylight. I've said it on here before. And one of these days, I'm going to do another stream, or maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do a Twitch stream of that. And I'll purposely... So there's a way in that game. It's asymmetrical for people who don't know real quick. Either you can be the killer against 4 people or 4 people against killer. There's apparently methods that if you use, everyone's going to hate on you. Like, the whole purpose is you down a victim, you put them on a hook, they're on there for so long, and you got to let them bleed out. Or they get rescued, then you put them back on, their time to bleed out is much shorter, yada, yada, yada. So, if you put somebody on the hook and then you know there's survivors around and you're trying to get them away from the hook, that's called camping. And people get fucking furious. Or if you hurt a guy, he gets rescued and you go after him again, that's apparently called tunneling. I only know this because the very first couple nights I got the game, I got so much shit because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to play. Like, I don't even know what the fuck... And I got all these messages about, like, oh, fucking tunneler, da-da-da-da-da. You're not making it fun for the rest of us. I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to make it fun. I thought I was supposed to kill you. So I think that's an easy one. We'll do a Twitch or some kind of drinking game and see how quickly I can get a DM from somebody pissed off.
There you go. Bri, you tunneling camping piece of shit.
All right, thanks again, Nick, for that question. So what do we have next?
Bri, I got my goddamn tool cup. I'm pouring the beer out.
It's about goddamn time you be professional.
It's still got a week aroma, or it's Booger Town done me dirty once again.
No, I just heard you try and smell it, and I just heard the whistle like Herbert from Family Guy.
Well, I'm Herbert and Herbert and Scooper mushed together. Yes, I'm very aware of who Herbert is.
Why the long face?
Get your fat ass back here. Yeah. All right. Next up from Bird Retinas. What game gave either of you, in your opinions, the dumbest AI teammates? I remember my allies in the first SOCOM fragging me because they misheard my orders and threw the wrong grenade.
Ooh.
That is a good one.
That's an amazing one. And that's one, I did see it earlier than I thought. And I remember thinking overwhelmingly, like, God damn, there's so many games with bad AI, especially for partners. But I'd probably go games like, a lot of the Resident Evils have notorious terrible. Like Resident Evil 4, Ashley following you around. And even in 5...
No, I mean, 5 before patches was notorious. Like, people hated Shiva.
5 was bad, but, like, at least the partner was... They could do something. They still died a lot, which brought you to die. But in 4, Ashley did nothing. would die, run the wrong way. So basically any game where the AI partner, if you have to keep them alive and that causes you to die over and over, especially if it's already in hard game, that's complete horseshit. I don't know why that's a mechanic people keep throwing into their shitty games, or even games that are good, but they're just too hard. So yeah, I'll go with the Resident Evil AI in most games.
See, mine's going to be kind of funny, and you're going to know why. Because I'm going to say Army of Two. Because here's the thing about it. The AI in that game is not good. Like, you'll be lucky if you're in the middle of like a crazy firefight and they actually pull you to safety instead of like spinning in circles, dragging you around until you're both shot to death. So for those who don't know, the gimmick is it's you and a partner. If you're playing single player, it's an AI partner. And it's a third-person shooter. It's kind of like Gears of War-ish. And you can revive each other, blah, 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 blah. So the AI on that is annoying, but a former roommate of mine who I would play the game with was even worse than the regular AI. Because there would be special sections where it'd be like, okay, both of us post up with a sniper. And sniper? Christ.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, what's a sniper?
I don't know, Brian. It's not even a Slifer the Sky Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! But
damn it.
You post up and you would both, snipe a gas tank and make it explode and kill everyone. But if you fucked up and you just did it by yourself, it wouldn't explode. You set up an alarm and all of a sudden you're surrounded. So, fucking level 1, I'm playing with the guy. And we're at this sniper part. We post up. And he shoots right away, and the alarm goes off, and I'm like, Matt, what the fuck? And he just goes, dude. And, of course, we get sworn. So.
He was one of the notorious friends that if you ever played Left 4 Dead, we'd say, Matt, don't go near the witch. And for those of you who don't know, the witch is a specific zombie that is a one-hit kill, and it takes, you either have to shoot at her or stand next to her long enough. And he's like, dude, got the shotgun. We'll be okay. He'd shoot. He'd go down. He's like, we're not okay. It was every goddamn time. No matter how many times we'd say, don't do that. He's that friend that did that.
I think that's an exact quote, too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Army of Two's AI is pretty bad, but sometimes human AI is even worse.
It's very true.
So I'll say the Folly of Man is the worst AI teammate I've ever had.
That's an amazing question, so thank you for that one. I like that a lot.
Yeah, next up from Alex Perez. Favorite handheld games pre-Switch?
Does he mean systems or just games?
He just said games, so let's just go with some favorite portable games.
Well, to be honest, I was never, outside of the original Game Boy, I didn't do a ton of
outside of your
mobile
toilet
gaming. Or like handheld. Well, that's what I mean. Even, yeah. So my references are all way back to the original Game Boy, and it would be probably Super Mario Land or Metroid.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't buy me a Game Boy at all, so I eventually have to do a video on this handheld that I had that was like a shitty LCD handheld with 400 built-in games. And it would have ads during ECW at midnight, and it would be sold in Boscov's. So I do plan on doing a video on that one of these days. But it had a calculator built in, because of course it did. So when I finally got around to getting my Game Boy, most of my memories were playing Game Boy or Game Gear from my friends or my cousins. So growing up playing Game Boy at my friend's house, it would be playing Tetris or Arkanoid. No, Alleyway. Or by the time I finally got my own Game Boy, the first game I got was Pokemon Red, so that's a favorite. Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku 2, that's a favorite. It's actually a really good RPG, back when I had time to do that shit. So actually the most Game Boy experience I've really had lately has been whenever I did a video for Yokoi Kids. Because it'll be like, oh, that's a game I want to check out, so I'd go get it and then play it. It'd be like, oh, this is good. So,
hey, Jim.
What?
Can I just offer you the most obvious choice because you were such a nerd for it?
I was getting to Tetris. Games? I already said Pokemon.
But I'm saying, you clearly dumped the most hours into those.
Yeah. Pokemon Red, I put so many hours into. I got, I got at least, 30 of the characters. No, maybe, 50 of the characters until level 100. And then one day I was like, oh, I'm going to start all over again. And I deleted my save file. And then, of course, I never got back to that point. I don't even think I ever beat it again because it was so much time. But
so
yeah,
it's Pokemon for you.
Yeah, I'll just say straight up Pokemon then. If I have to pick one, I'll say Pokemon.
There you go.
God.
Brevity, Jim.
Oh, brevity my ass.
Good question. The only thing Jim said calculator, I would say one of the most useful things I had was on our TI 89s and 83s, doing Snake or Mailman, whatever the hell that game was called.
And Drug War.
Yeah, whichever one it was. Those like 3 games that everyone had.
Mm-hmm. I'm pissed that we were in the era before people got Doom on there. 'Cause, shit, you think I didn't do anything in college beforehand? Oh boy.
Damn it, Jim.
All right, next up from Sandy N. What is the most useless thing you know how to do?
I gotta think for a minute, so I don't know if you have one off the top of your head.
No, I've got one.
Oh God, I'm already pissed.
No,
Go ahead.
You know this one though. I can say the alphabet backwards because
Yeah, that's very useless.
it's extremely useless. Because back in my drinking and driving days, which I do not endorse, but somehow I'd be cognizant enough to start teaching myself while drunk the alphabet backwards in case I got pulled over for a field sobriety test, thinking I'll pass it if I can say the alphabet backwards. Not for the stumbling fuck that I would be, not for the blood alcohol that I would blow into a breathalyzer, but because I could do that. So, and I can spout off real quick. ZYXWVUT, SRQP, ONML, KJIHGFE, DCBA. So, that's it. That's not the only useless thing, but that is the most useless thing that I can do.
Okay. Oh man, I'm having a hard time with this one, so I'm just gonna go with things that just make no sense or didn't go anywhere. I've never formally, in any sense of the word, played a piano or keyboard, but I had an ex that played the piano, and she taught me how to, other than like chopsticks, the opening to "My Heart Will Go On" from Titanic. I know how to play that, and I also learned how to play Motley Crue "Home Sweet Home," the beginning, that doon 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 doo 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 doo. For some reason, those are 2 things. I can't play the entire songs of either one because I never cared enough to do that. But that's just one of those weird things. I'm like, yeah, it's completely useless. There's never I've never broken out and been like, hey, you want to hear that? No. So it's useless, but I know how to do it.
You'll see with my face when you're writing this together. I was not expecting to hear that. I literally just gave you what the fuck?
That's why I can't think of anything.
No, I mean that's useless. I mean, you could always break out if you're at like a biker bar and they have a piano, you can start playing Home Sweet Home. There you go.
That's what I mean. There's really no place where I'm ever going to, other than if I really want to go through and learn it myself. And even if I did, I'm not going to hey guys, let me break out the keyboard. Or oh, there's a grand piano, let me play.
I can play Mary Had a Little Lamb on my daughter's rolling truck thing that has like 5 piano keys on it. I taught myself how to play it on there. I took piano lessons for years, but I hated it because of how my parents drilled it into me. So I quit that for drums. Wish I kept up with it, but
that's not all they drilled into you.
That's what an oppressive childhood would do. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the child rape joke. That never happened. Just clearing that up. Disavow.
Yeah, not from the parents.
If it happened, I blocked it out. Sweet, sexy repression.
Home sweet home.
God damn it. So before we get to the last question, thanks, by the way. Thank you, Sandy. That was a great question.
Yeah, good question. I like that.
So before I quick plugs for Nerdy Nick and Burn Retinas, go check out their YouTube pages, give them subs, and especially for our last one for G to the Next Level, find them, sub them, follow them, and all the shit.
Absolutely.
The Game Gear Micro seems like a microconsole for ants. What are your thoughts on the Game Gear Micro? And if you guys could pick 5 games to put in your own personal Game Gear Micro, what would they be? Hope you guys are keeping well. Cheers.
Okay. So I typed in Game Gear Micro as a topic before I saw that he made this a question, so I deleted it, obviously. You piss me off all the time with your ridiculous tweets. And
what?
As we've put up here, your terrible decisions on buying games, like a lot of stuff you do. The only people or company that makes worse decisions seems to be Sega, because I saw this thing and I said, what the fuck? Like, I thought, now granted, once again, Jim is very Sega centric when it comes to our Twitter, so I see a lot of secondhand, like tons of Sega shit because of Jim. He's like very focused on that. He's focused on people who love it.
I spread it around.
No, you don't.
Yes,
You're very
I do.
Sega heavy. You're extreme. If I see anything Super NES, it's only because of the like 4 or 5 friends we have that are hardcore Super NES. But my point is that I saw that come across, and I saw some people like saying like, "Oh, that's so cute. I want to get a couple." And I was like, "People actually want that shit?" I thought it was the stupidest goddamn idea. And when I realized really what it was, and the fact that it's not like just a micro version that holds all the games, that it's an even worse idea. I'm like, well, this, you know what, Sega, I don't feel bad anymore. You deserve to fail. You deserve to be at your best collection of your top tier titles on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. Like, what the fuck are you doing making this? You have nothing else to do. You couldn't be trying to resurrect one of your first party franchises. You couldn't be trying to bring a legit, maybe another console or something. You gotta fucking make a Game Gear Micro. That's where your money went, because you see all these other mini consoles, and even yours did probably the shittiest of all the mini consoles out there. This is what you do. You made a goddamn Jim decision, and I hate you for it.
But, Bri, Sega does have a new console coming out. They're licensing out the Xbox Series X, so it's going to be the Sega Series X in Japan.
Like I said, you're doing nothing, and you're making even worse decisions in Japan.
So
Great job.
Well,
I hate it. And I'm going to hate the fact that you're going to fucking buy one. I know you are. It's not even a question. And I don't know how many you're going to buy. I didn't bother looking up the price point. But that's going to piss me off too, because I will let you buy it. I will let you show it to me. And then I will give you whatever it costs plus $10 so I can shoot it with my gun or my arrow and film it, because of how much I hate that goddamn thing.
I mean, if I'm making a $10 profit, then shit, might have to do it. Well, for one, to burst your bubble, it's already basically sold out, and it was sold through Japan only. Probably through scalpers. 2, the price point was $50 each, and they each come with 4 games, I think, maybe 5. And it's extremely small, and the screen then is extremely small, so you get like a 1-inch screen if you're lucky. And they throw games on there like fucking Shining Force, which you need to be able to read. Can't do that on a 1-inch screen. So you'll be happy to know that even I looked at this and I went, what? No. And it's even funnier because they were hyping up their big 60th anniversary of Sega announcement for like, we got big things on the way. And basically what they came out with was like some cloud gaming shit. So I guess Sega's going to be on Stadia or something. I don't know. And then the Game Gear Micro. Like, whoa.
Just why? Like, even if you're saying you said it was Japan only, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Even if that's the case, and we've seen some goofy shit come out of Japan. They made some great stuff, but a lot of goofy stuff. They like things small, they're Tamagotchis, all that bullshit.
They do have beer vending machines, though. They have beer vending machines.
I just don't, like, is there, and it's sold out strictly because there's a Japanese version of Jim over there. That's like, I need to have this. And just everything about that just drives me crazy, because you like whenever you see a company you love spending time and money on things that are just completely useless, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? So I hate it through and through.
The funny thing is, like, even hardcore Sega fans, everyone who's a Sega fan knows that Sega of Japan makes terrible decisions all the time. And they will make terrible decisions despite themselves. Like, they purposely kind of sabotaged the release of the Saturn in the US and shit like that. And they purposely, like, fucked up the Dreamcast. And they do this and that just out of spite. Like, Sega of Japan is insane. Like, they're famous and successful despite themselves. So, yeah, this is just another one of those, huh? kind of things. And it's probably just scalpers who bought them all up. That's all I can guess. But
Probably. And they're going to sell them to dumbass people here who will pay even more than it cost out there.
yeah, and I think like the best value you could get would be like to buy like one that came in a case with like all 5 or 6 of them for $270. So you save like $30. Like no, just terrible. Like I look and like the buttons are like almost vertical from how like they had to angle them in order to be like it's like the At Games handhelds but 1,000 times worse. It's just I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yeah. So,
but for the second part of his question,
yeah, to answer G's second part, I'll just say for me, I didn't play the Game Gear enough to even give a solid answer, so I can't give a legit honest answer to this. I played like 3 games, like Jim. I had a cousin who had it. I played it. It's actually a system a little handheld I always wanted. I just never got around to playing it or whatever. So I can't even give a good answer for 5 games I would put on my own.
I might be able to get close. All right, so there was a Power Rangers game that was like standard side-scrolling beat 'em up. So I played the shit out of that. That'll be on there. There's a couple X-Men games. I forget. There was one of them that was like based around the Hellfire Club that I would play every time my cousin brought his around, like when we would visit our grandma. So I would throw that on there. There's a Power Strike game, I believe, on the Game Gear. So I'll throw that on there. That's a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up for those who don't know. One of the Sonic games, so I'll throw like Sonic Chaos on there, I guess. And blah, 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 blah. Maybe the Adventures of Batman and Robin. I'll throw that on there. So yeah, there we go. There's 5.
All right. Sounds like solid, at least solid games for once. So
always with the digs.
What? I'm giving you a compliment. Say thank you. Jim, just say thank you.
I'm not saying shit.
I think so. I can just say you're welcome.
For what?
Jim, let me be your Maui.
Oh, God damn it.
So, no, that's a great question, G. Like I said, we were going to cover that anyway, but fuck that Micro and everything about it. It's a terrible decision.
Pretty much. But that will wrap up the Patreon questions for this week. So, once again, patreon.com/drinkabeerplayagame. $2 a month. You can ask a question that we will answer.
All right. So, the next one we actually have from our buddy Kitt, and it's a beer-related topic. What are our top 3 stouts each? So, I'm going to throw out mine first, just because...
You'll answer this way easier.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go with the easy drinking stout that I love, Guinness, obviously. It's always the perfect, like, before you get deep into other stouts, try that out, and it gives you an idea if you're going to be into that. Excuse me. The Sunday morning stout from Weyerbacher is really, really delicious. And it's a tie for me for third between the double chocolate milk stout from Lancaster Brewing Company and the Gatherer from Tired Hands Brewing Company. Both amazing, but the Gatherer comes in at 11.5%. And I generally tend to go towards more Imperial double stouts as my favorite, and Russian Imperials, which is just a slightly different way of saying Imperial stout. Those are my favorites. I do enjoy a lot of bourbon barrel stouts, but sometimes you get a little bit too much of that vanilla and a little bit too much of that bourbon kind of boozy flavor. So I kind of like the more base, like chocolate, coffee flavors that a stout is supposed to represent. So for drinkability and just what I've had the most, I'll go with those 3.
Yeah, I am more the basic bitch of the two of us with beer, so this is a little tough for me. And I have a couple buddies who are like, well, I have one buddy in particular who loves stouts. Like, he lives off that shit. So you think I'd have more off the top of my head, but, pardon me. So one will be Guinness because that's the gateway drug. Like, it's just super smooth, super approachable. Duchette's, which is one of my favorite breweries, they had a stout that I was able to pick up one year over here. And actually the opposite of Brian, it had that boozy bourbon barrel, almost like cherry infused flavor in it too. So I really enjoyed that one, and it was a pretty good alcohol level as well. Well, like most stouts are. And number 3, I'm struggling. Because I really can't name that many off the top of my head. There's a lot of good ones I've had, but like stouts is just never a style that I ever really go back to that much. So I maybe it was Tired Hands Wanderer. I know there was this one that my buddy brought over randomly one time. It was like super thick and dark, and it had this like almost like Zeus looking wizard on the front of it. I couldn't tell you the name of it, but if you see Zeus Wizard and it's based out of Denver area, get that one.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I love, and not only am I the beer guy, but I'm the stouts guy. So I literally, before you asked that, I went through my Untapped, and the amount of stouts I have in there is, let's see, I can't do it real quick, but it's in the hundreds of stouts I've had. So I just went with the 3 that I do the most often.
There you go. Makes sense. But no,
Thanks,
good question.
Kit. Great question. Speaking of beer, Jim, I don't know if you saw this. Breweries in PA reported on this, and I've been noticing a lot. If this is a little bit of a very, very, very bronze lining to all this shit that we're going through with the pandemic and everything, is that PA breweries, PA, for those of you who don't know, is a terrible state when it comes to beer sales, because they can't mix that and liquor. You can't ship a lot of stuff. You can't receive stuff. But for some reason or whatever, breweries are popping up left and right that are shipping statewide. So previously, breweries that were in like Erie or Pittsburgh can now ship down to Philly.
Nice.
I forget how many exactly there are, but it's a solid list, and it keeps growing of companies that are willing to distribute at least statewide. And that's not even including all your local breweries that can ship to you. So I didn't know if you saw that, and it made me.
No, I didn't. That's cool.
Like, I've already been scouring a lot of our local breweries. Like Naked, Crooked Eye, a lot of these places we've been to before.
Right.
And I was thinking, like, I might start ordering, like, at least curbside or have them deliver, like, and getting a whole bunch of variety packs just so I can try and help with some of the local breweries, because Jim and I had been talking prior to all this shit happening about being more like trying to go out, see the breweries, maybe doing some tours, some videos, interviewing brewmasters. That all went to shit, obviously. But in the meantime, we can maybe start getting some beer from some of these places. So maybe you and I can talk, and we can figure out, like, let's hit up some of these breweries, get some beer from it, and whether we do a virtual, like, tasting of all the beers, a Twitch, whatever we gotta do. I just thought that was an interesting thing, and I don't know if other states are doing it, but for PA, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, PA was, we still had, like, PA was based on Puritans, like the Quakers when they came over in the 1700s or fucking 1500s. And so we still have, like, 400-year-old alcohol restriction laws, which are just insane. So, like, when Bryce, like, we didn't have beer in grocery stores until about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck, my buddy moved to Atlanta, and he's like, dude, I can buy beer at a gas station, which just sounds completely wrong, but it's what you can do down there. So, well,
it's not quite as bad as the drive-through beer places like in Texas, or where you can have, like, the open cup margaritas and shit.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, this is a big deal for us. We should ask breweries in PA to recommend some shitty Yinzer beer so we can try it out and bash it rightfully after having experienced it.
Exactly.
But no, that's actually really cool to see.
Yeah.
It's a positive note.
Yeah, that's one nice thing that I'm seeing come out there. So, wanted to throw it up there.
Actually, something real quick we didn't have on here. So, over the weekend, when I threw up that picture of the Boddington's Pub Ale, I was like, well, this is something I never heard of and shit like that.
I can't believe that. I was going to comment something negative, but I was like, it makes sense you've never heard of that. And I was like, how you were describing it, I'm like, God damn it, Jim. Like,
what? It's smooth and tasty.
I know. It's one of the most basic. It's like saying, hey, I've now had my first Guinness. It was one of those ones.
I've had my first Miller Lite.
Yeah, like, I'm like,
little did I know. Who did Twitter blow up? And, like, all of our UK fans at once were like, holy shit, I haven't seen that in 20 years. They're like, that's the shit my dad drinks. That's like the old Milwaukee, like their version of that.
That's what your dad drank, like
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a good. It's. I was gonna say like I didn't want to comment on it and be like it's actually. And there was a report came out like it's actually really one of the beers that's reported really bad for you because the coloring they use to get brown. So
details.
I was like, I'll just let Jim drink it and let him hang himself with these comments.
It wasn't a hanging. It was just more of people going, "Oh shit, look at that." They were probably just going, this stupid American."
Exactly.
But so after that little bit of fun I had, we got our next story is another beer story, bit of a spicy one. And so for those of you who don't know right now, we are recording this on June the 8th of 2020. Bit of a socio-political upheaval going on right now in the world of the United States of America.
And should we preface this with we reported on our last podcast with everything that's going on. A brewmaster at Evil Genius was fired, and then Evil Genius put out a comment because a lot of people were giving them backlash about how they reported the firing. A lot of people have interesting opinions about everything that's going on. This one from porchdrinking.com. Jim, I will let you... This is fascinating.
The first thing I want to ask you, Bri, is have you ever had anything from Steam Hollow Brewing? You're the one who's ventured out.
Sure haven't.
Okay. So probably on the small side, probably one of those local jammers that we have around here. But they have an interesting take on social media. So the owners, this time it's the owners, so I guess in a way they can get away with that without being fired. Sure doesn't mean they can't get canceled.
Hold on. Just to be clear, it's co-owner Natalie White. So I don't know if the other owner...
Perfect.
I don't know if there's... I don't know if there's multiple owners, if it's just her and somebody else.
I thought it was a husband and wife thing. I think I read that.
It might be, but she... Yeah, I think you just need to read that quote. Because that's...
Yeah, so, as we know, tragedy happened. African-American man named George Floyd killed by a cop. And everything's gone to hell since. So, her magical take on is her responding to someone and saying, truth.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, if you look up the article, the paragraph right above, it kind of says thing.
Okay, so blah, 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 blah. The response comes in stark contrast to Illinois brewers like Half Acre said, we would support our neighbors locally and nationally and demand for justice and lasting change. Should you choose, you should donate money to have your spent on beer today to one of the solid organizations help to create equality for all. Black Lives Matter. Noble, fine. Mm-hmm. Natalie White decides to say, truth. Everyone bought in on it because they listened to the damn media. George Floyd isn't dead. He is a porn star / actor who knows the officer who isn't even a real officer. It was a paid ploy to start a race war. Wake the F up. I'm waiting for the day the media tells you to walk off a cliff. Don't forget your mask. Oh, boy. There's a lot to unpack there. Which I am way too Natalie White to...
So here's the deal.
Jesus Christ.
This is the same exact person, and if you're this person, I don't care, that would say the earth is flat, or would say like the whole tinfoil hat people about there. It's fine if you think there's some conspiracies, and I'm sure there are, and there might be some, but what's worrying is that I saw a couple of these. So this is just one that happens in the beer world of people saying that this whole thing was staged, and they tried showing pictures of the cops and saying like they're the same people shown in this Sandy Hook shooting that was fake too.
Oh no. No.
And you look at the pictures, you're like, they're not even kind of close. And then they also said, and here's these 4 and somewhere else. And literally the only things it was just, there are people out there that I look at that almost like a mental disorder. Like, if you really think this is fake and you think it's just a media ploy, like...
If you haven't seen a lot of these TikToks and videos that have come out over the past week, fuck it, I'll throw a little social commentary out there. Things need to change, all right? I'll just leave it at that. I'm the son of a cop, and even I'm going, fucking things need to be changed badly. but you're the owner of a business with a social media platform. Maybe not smart thing to go about that.
Well, here's the deal.
Think about it before you post something like that. You can never get away with it again.
But you and I said this last week, that head brewer that got fired from Evil Genius, he wasn't even an owner, so he really shouldn't have said anything because he had the right to get fired. She can't obviously be fired, but shockingly, this company is going to face a lot of backlash. Companies...
Oh, really?
So companies now could just say, okay, well, I don't know how it works in Illinois, but a lot of bottle shops or places that sell beer could just be like, well, we're not going to carry your stuff
easily.
So,
yeah.
As a follow-up from the official Steam Hollow Brewing Company's site, he said, as some of you have seen, there are some ugly remarks going around about Steam Hollow, and we have been addressing them separately, but we'll put it out for everyone. Yesterday, our family was coming home from a bike ride and got caught up with a group of supporters. We were trying to cross a busy road and had a car of people yelling behind us. A few quick seconds of conversation at the crosslight change, we were called racist, etc. We were not aware of the event going on and just trying to get home. Later that evening, there was a post of our family being racist and hateful based nothing. Terrible writing. The comments of saying racist and hateful things are pure lies. We do not know the people in the car, as most of you know. We are always sarcastic and ready to joke with you at our brewery on all subjects without any hate in our hearts. We know that our friends and loyal customers know this. For those that don't, we can only leave you with the sides of the story. We understand that tensions are high right now, but slandering a family and business without justified reason is not okay. It's unfortunate that our family bike ride resulted in so much negativity and hate. We love you all, and those that know us know this is not true. What?
Edit 1. Apparently having private views of our government and their desire to create race wars is racist, question mark. Personal views are personal views, and if someone comes at you with... and the cut off there.
Yeah, no, but then the follow-up from Derek Staffenberg basically threw out there that now, more importantly, has come to my attention that the owners of Steam Hollow Brewing made some incredibly unacceptable remarks of the peaceful protesters. They were told this family. So it's amazing. So on one hand, these people
they yelled "fuck you" to the family with their children on bikes with them. Oh my god! So the Illinois Craft Brew Guild, which I'm sure is just it's nothing really, but they're just they're not part of us. We have nothing to do with what they say. Don't put this on us.
So. Yeah, and basically Natalie White went really hard in the paint, it looks like on Facebook as well, really doubling down, saying legitimately all these people are rioting and quote-unquote protesting over a game that's played out because he's not really dead, and I believe that 100%. Like I said, this is when someone makes the argument did you know the earth was flat? There's a certain point when you just go, all right, well, there's nothing to talk about. There's some people you just can't even try to talk to. Whether you feel protesting, rioting, it doesn't matter where you stand there, because you can at least have some semblance of a conversation. But if you say it just didn't happen, okay, I'm done talking. I don't have much to say past that. So it's just...
I'll just say there's some pretty damning evidence out there. You can just look, anywhere. You'll probably find it. Isn't hard to find.
It's whatever happened, it's the one bad thing about the internet. Whatever happened to having opinions like that and just keeping some shit to yourself. Have that opinion. You're a bar owner. If you want to bug your patrons with that when they come in, go nuts. Don't put that shit out there if you're the owner and then be shocked that you get backlash for it. I don't care if you lose your business. I don't care if nobody wants to do business with you. You're a fucking idiot. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and I mean, their answer to it was, what? We're on a bike ride and we missed the news? So George Floyd got killed and all these protests happened and everything happened during the course of your bike ride?
Well, that happened in apparently they've had a few run-ins of situations of people calling them racist, but then also they have this opinion of it being fake.
They must go on a lot of bike rides if they get called racist a lot. Holy shit.
They, yeah. So, yeah, man. I guess that's one brewery, if I see, I probably won't try.
Thank God it's not local this time. Thank fucking God it's not local this time. Jesus Christ.
At least we just have one jackass person from Evil Genius, and they did the right thing, which was, let's fire this dude. We can't have comments like this.
Yeah, so far Philly has the Evil Genius guy and that lovely guy from Fishtown. So that's what we have right now is our big news stories from this whole thing. That's
all right.
I guess it could be worse.
Yeah. They're not saying it's fake.
He did not say it was fake. He had other things to say. Yeah. Oh, did he have things?
So, the next topic. This goes back to when you and I were talking about games we're playing right now. So, I wanted to ask you about games that, when I say games that give you a true experience, and obviously every game you play you can get experience from. I'm saying like something like when you see a really powerful movie or a really great movie, something that you're not necessarily every day can watch in and out because it takes a lot of your attention, a lot of your focus. So I'm getting that with this game, Hellblade. Like, it's an amazing, amazing game. It probably is going to be in my top 20 favorite games, but I'm not going to, like, I will go back and play it probably in the future, but it's like I'm getting a full-fledged, unique experience. Kind of like when I played Alien Isolation for the first time. I was like, holy shit, like, for a horror game, like, and everything that's going on, like, I never experienced something like that. What are some of your either favorite games that gave you a truly unique, like, you can't say Streets of Rage because at the end of the day, there's a million side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and there's really nothing that crazy or unique about it. And same for even like Star Fox. There's like a million, like, I'm saying games that really stand out that take a lot of you to play that you know you may or may not ever actually go back, but playing through it that one or two times is like one of those good examples of like, wow, that is truly a unique game and an amazing experience. So do you have any games you can think of that you felt that way about?
Well, I think part of what you're feeling with Hellblade right now is also because of how they designed it, which sounds like genius for like saying you need to have all the audio visual cues and shit like that. Because like it's some things I've said a couple times on the page before. Like the first time I played, even though it's not a unique experience, but the first time I played Mario Kart 64 with a surround sound system and having that whole booming sound all around me and shit like that, like I felt like I was in it there. Or for a game like you're talking, another one I've said before was Fallout New Vegas on hardcore mode, where you had to micromanage every single thing, and it really felt like you were trying to survive in a futuristic wasteland, kind of deal like that. So a lot of it's going to be the things I've said before. Sometimes it could be just the way you play it too. Like the first time I ever played Call of Duty Black Ops after I finally got my Turtle Beach headset, and I just listened to it through that and heard like all that full spectrum of sound around me. That was like a level of immersion I had never felt before. Like turning my head, looking to see where like the bullets came from and shit like that. So, kind of stuff along those lines. But as far as just like a game that, I mean, it almost seems like it has to be an RPG.
So, let me rephrase it. I guess the only times I've ever had these thoughts are when it is a game that's really the plot, the story that pulled you in a way other games don't. It's not necessarily about the gameplay. And I know you tend to be like, you don't like you didn't like Uncharted because that was basically watching a movie.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like Uncharted because the combat was shit.
But what I'm saying is like, I didn't have a problem with Uncharted like you did, but I can be pulled into a game if the story is really there. Like, if you're selling me on an amazing story, and a lot of times, if we're being honest, like most NES games, you don't give two fucks about the story. It's strictly about the gameplay. It's about the challenge. It's very arcade, just in an extended, quote-unquote, story. But when you play games that have I think of something like BioShock. And I'm not saying that's an experience. I'm saying that is a full, complete story.
Right.
You can do so much that you choose you do, but ultimately it all guides to a very succinct final story. So like Hellblade, like that, Until Dawn. Like, there's been a lot of games that are very narrative, story driven. That I'm like, oh shit, man, this was great. Like how it played out.
I think
like that.
Yeah, like one for me, and I've mentioned it on the page before, was Shadowrun of the Genesis, because I said it 1,000 times. I'm not a big RPG guy, but this was an RPG that it snuck up on me because I didn't even know what the genre really was back then. And I got pulled into the story, and the open-ended nature of the gameplay in that game let me kind of tackle it in my own way, and then I started to piece everything together as you went along. So that was a story that like really drew me in, and then when some of the big reveals happened, I was like, holy shit, like that kind of deal. And I really don't get that a lot with a ton of games because, like I said before, I don't really care about story in games that much unless it's really, really good or unless it surprises me. So yeah, I have way less experiences with that, but I'll say Shadowrun of the Genesis was a big one for me with that.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example of one I could understand where that would come from. But yeah, it's just something I thought about. Like, I don't have a ton of examples, but it usually is tied to, like, once I know I care about the story and I'm sympathizing with the character. Like, most games are just kind of like, all right, let me just do this next part. Let me get through this challenge. Let me figure out this combo.
Right.
Let me shoot this guy. You don't give two fucks about the story. But when the gameplay mechanics are just secondary to, like, you're caring about what's going on in the game. That's something that I'm starting to get more and more appreciation for. Like I said, it's like a really, really great movie that you watch and you're like, God damn, that's good. It's not a movie you're going to watch every time it's on because sometimes you want to digest it in a whole sitting. It's not like a comedy that you're just like, oh, I can just put that on in the background. Like there's some movies where you're like, if I'm going to start this, I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to like need to not really pay attention to anything else.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So yeah, like New Vegas was that. Shadowrun I've played a few times, but that's a shorter game. But yeah, now I'm struggling with some more like that. Outside of just like straight up like the experience of playing the game as opposed to just like the story of the game. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah, well, and that's where I think games are becoming better at doing that. Like they're blending that. Like before games,
unless that's always been your kind of genre. Like people will tell you that Chrono Trigger is like the best game of all time with like the best story of all time with all the multiple endings. I played it for like 2 hours and I went, I don't care. So
yeah, the gameplay in Chrono Trigger is not what's you've always, and I've noticed
I'm a gameplay guy. Yeah.
Well, your gameplay, you're like mechanics first. I don't get, like you're saying, you don't give two fucks. And honestly, you're kind of that way when it comes to movies. Like you're very surface on movies. You're like, I just want to laugh or I want to see something crazy. You're not diving deep into plot. You're not caring
I do think No Country for Old Men is overrated. I will say that. Kill the main goddamn character off screen, why don't you? Oh, what a great payoff that was. Fucking stupid
But
movie.
that's my point, is like there's no right answer. It's just something I've found interesting is that more and more games have been able to do that kind of more cinematic movie quality and have legit writers that are giving you a story that make you care way more about the characters themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just a random topic I wanted to bring up, especially since I'm going through this game.
Makes sense.
All right, so before we hit our last two topics, Jim, what'd you think of that beer?
I feel like I say this way too much, but it was perfectly fine. It is.
Just say it wasn't anything special and it wasn't good. It's fine.
No, it was good. It wasn't anything special. Like the mouthfeel, it almost, not to say it felt like nothing was there, but for an IPA, you're just kind of like, okay. And even when I poured it into the glass, and once again, it could be because of Booger Town, the aroma really wasn't there. Had a nice semi-clear brownish kind of look to it. Surprising amount of lacing on a glass. Might be able to see it here, but not a super crazy amount of lacing either. Just everything about it was just middle of the road. But for 7.1% alcohol, very smooth and drinkable. So if you want to sneakily get yourself drunk, get a 6-pack of this and you'll be smashed by the end of it.
Okay. So for the Purple Haze for Raspberry Lager, which that's just an odd thing. Like lagers are always a weird one. It's painfully average to below average. There wasn't enough raspberry to make it interesting. It was very drinkable, I'll give it that, like most lagers are. But it was just very meh. Like, there was nothing special about it. I would never go out of my way to get it. But I also would say it's not. The taste was like a basic lager with just the tiniest hint of raspberry. And then when I finished that, I actually moved on to the Three Floyd Zombie Dust. I've spoken enough about this beer. Amazing pale ale if you ever get a chance to try it. And for my final beer, another one I've talked about is the Roque Brewing Company's French Toast Oatmeal Stout. This is kind of my little dessert, if you will.
I think I've had that before.
It's friggin' delicious. It was one of the brew battles I did. So if you like French toast, you'll like this beer. Let's put it that way.
Well. So, yeah, I'm finishing up with a couple Golden Monkeys. Old favorite, Victory Lager, based out of Philly. So, well, not Philly, but the area. So, can't go wrong there. 9.5% alcohol, so whoo-hoo.
You're going to be feeling good tomorrow.
Oh, I'm going to be feeling great tomorrow.
All right, so we have 2 more topics left, and they're both our recurring bits. The first, which is better? And I threw this in here, and it's probably been debated many times. I'm actually shocked we never discussed this.
It seems like something we would have done, but I guess not.
Yeah, we never did, but Doom Guy or Master Chief. And I really hope I don't need to say it, but in case you don't know who I'm talking about, Doom Guy is literally the guy from Doom. Master Chief is the guy from Halo series. So, Jim, I don't know if you have a opinion on this, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I can kind of keep it quick, and I guess I'm going to go with Master Chief for the sole fact that he's a more developed character. Like, Doom Guy, there's not a lot to. He's Doom Guy, he went to hell, killed a lot of demons, came back to Earth, killed a lot of demons, went back to hell, killed a lot of demons. Super cool, super badass. The guy who brought up every over-the-top action hero, first-person shooter, hero character player guy. But I guess just as a straight-up character, and for being in a series that, well, for a bit was just as good. I guess just because he's more of a character with like an actual story that I got into, I'll go with Master Chief.
Okay. No, that's actually, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. I'm going to go with Doom Guy for the reason of Master Chief. For everything Jim said, he's absolutely correct. There's no doubt he's a better developed character. But Doom Guy, there's something to that, I'll call it the strong silent type. You don't care so much about the character. This goes against what I said earlier. Like, part of playing Doom is you don't give that much shits about the story.
No.
Honestly, the newer games, you can dive a little deeper into the stories. Which, if you care about it, you find the collectibles, you figure out what's going on. You can get a little bit. But at the end of the day, Doom Guy himself, what's badass about him is the fact he did go to hell. And unlike Master Chief, who had tons of support, an army, and all these arbiters, and all these people helping him, Doom Guy did it all himself. Using fucking chainsaws, shotguns, big fucking guns, like, just the craziest arsenal. And he defeated literal hell. Master Chief might have saved, I don't know if it's a whole universe or whatever, like multiple planets.
Like a galaxy.
But Doom Guy, there's something to be said about what he accomplished. And I don't know. I feel like Master Chief, if he steps out of that uniform, he's not that impressive. Doom Guy, like, is one of those dudes that's like, yeah, I'm going to fuck you up no matter what I'm wearing. I don't need a special suit. Like, Master Chief is kind of like Iron Man, and Doom Guy's kind of like Captain America.
No. He was a cybernetically enhanced kind of fucking roided up super soldier made for the point of being able to survive the suit and shit like that. So he was like a science experiment. Where Doom Guy's just like, he's like a guy.
Exactly.
Got the guns, and I'm not just talking about the ones in his hand.
What are you talking about, Jim?
Cock.
Damn it. So yeah, Doom Guy I think is just all around more badass, and what I like is he's one of the characters that is still, after so many games, remained elusive. Like what they tried to do with Boba Fett, and then they fucked him up because somehow Boba Fett, who should not have had all the praise he did from a movie where he did virtually nothing.
True.
It was his mystery that made him interesting.
Bro, the helmet was so cool.
Yeah, but then Doom Guy, it's like you still don't know that much about him. So I like that.
Yeah, that's one thing I loved about Doom 2016 is they gave you a lot of story, but as if you wanted to read it. If not, you had to sit through like a couple 5-minute cutscenes and then it's back to the action. Perfect game.
Jim, you skipped through absolutely everything, didn't you?
What, all the story cutscenes? You fucking know I did.
Exactly. Well, God, you just don't care about the story at all.
Bored, kill.
Which is a perfect segue into our next topic.
I had something different here too, and then you changed it to this, you son of a bitch.
Oh, I sure did. So before we move on, let us know what you think. Who's better, Master Chief, Doom Guy? Let us know your comments below. And no, we're not talking about the games. We're not comparing Doom to Halo. We're saying the specific characters. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, not really a wrong answer here, but let's hear what you guys think.
Sure. All right, Jim. It was about time I feel like we've danced around it. We both joked about it. Going back to one of our more favorite recurring bits, overrated, underrated, it's time to just go ahead and hit the nail on the head. The Sega Genesis.
It's underrated.
Is it overrated or is it underrated?
Underrated because babies who like stupid stories with their stupid turn-based strategy fucking JRPGs go, there aren't enough RPGs on the console. It's a shit console. Blah, 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 blah. No, it's a great fucking console. I'm sorry it doesn't have the stupid stories that made dumb 8-year-olds cry. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean goddamn shit because anyone can fucking make a dumb game where you manage menus. If you want games with actual good gameplay, like a lot of good shmups and great beat 'em ups and great fighting games and great racing games and great superior sports games, if you want some stupid goddamn story, then you can play your stupid Super NES. Fine, good, wonderful. But no, the Sega Genesis is goddamn underrated. And, the Super NES had a better sound chip and it had better graphics. Well, fucking course it did. It came out 3 goddamn years later.
So you're saying underrated?
Yes, I'm going underrated.
All right, so I'm going to go overrated.
Of course.
Partial of this is because of you.
I know exactly why. It's because of me.
No. But I'm going to justify some of this, and it's overrated because of fans like you. And this is not a dig at you, for real. And you know, anyone who watches us, I give this Sega Genesis a lot of shit, mostly just to bust Jim's balls.
True.
But part of the issue with the Sega Genesis, I'll right off the bat.
I can say, as a Genesis fanboy, sorry to cut you off. As a Genesis fanboy, I know the biggest argument you have for the Super NES, and I'll say it doesn't have as many timeless games. Like the true Super AAA timeless all-timer games. I'll say that.
Well, so here's the deal. That is one of the things. It's not the biggest thing. I'm trying my best to not compare it to the Super NES. Of course, I can't help but draw comparisons, especially with things you just said. I really can't help it now.
It was the console war. It was the console war. Like, everyone likes to say, Xbox versus PS4 is a console war. Motherfucker, no. No, this was the console war.
It was. But here's the deal. There's plenty of good to be said about the Genesis. My problem with the Genesis, just like my problem with a lot of game franchises or systems in general, is the avid fan base that tends to be so outspoken, and there's no self-realization. It's kind of like, okay, Genesis came out, and all they did was punch down to the NES, saying, like, we're so much better than you, Nintendo don't. Like Jim just said, yeah, Super Nintendo came out, had a better sound card because it came out later. Sega did the same shit to a console that was a whole generation behind it. And that was, to me, always something that rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, punch up, never punch down. That'd be like if friggin' PS4 came out. I was like, man, can you guys believe GameCube? What the fuck are you doing? Like, it's obviously a bigger generational gap, but that was always one of those things. I was like, okay, but Genesis always tried to be like, we're the console with attitude. But they never, like, some of their games took it, like, to that next step, but it never really achieved that. And to Jim's point, they don't have as many timeless games. Now, as a gamer, I love many games on Genesis. But anytime you're at a buddy's house, the same old classics, or any person in general that's a gamer that's not even, you can't be a hardcore gamer, I'm saying a casual gamer, you're going to ask NES, you're going to ask N64, you're going to ask basically all the Nintendo consoles, period. And Genesis is one of those, it's still to me like almost like a niche console that it's amazing for what it did, but it didn't have enough unique titles. It didn't have enough variety of unique titles or game genres because it, like Jim said, shoot 'em ups, sure, everything had that. Beat 'em ups, basically same amount as Super Nintendo. The biggest advantage that Sega had was sports games, and I'm not even willing to say it was better sports games. I'm willing to say they had the start of the simulation sports games, because all like the Tecmo stuff and Mike Tyson's Knockout and all the other games that were still on the Super NES too, like Ken Griffey's Baseball, like there's plenty of great games on the Super NES, but they were more arcadey, fun sports games. Whereas Sega Genesis was like, we're going to make sports games more realistic, and hence started the whole what is now today, like the 2K and EA Sports. Like that was the start of that. Like nothing had that before Sega Genesis came along, which is fine. But other than that, its legacy, you know, its games, even its first-party titles, as we said at the beginning, they're best remembered now as collections on modern consoles. Like, that's what it's boiled down to. The sound, Sega had a unique sound. I give it shit, and some games, they can sound better than on the Super NES, but majority sound worse. And why did you design a console that was hard to develop music for? Like, that's one of my problems. Like, fine, it was hard to develop music for. Don't make it sound like that's the developer's issue. Like, maybe make something that's easier to develop for. Don't put it, like, as soon as you say, like, you're starting to justify why the system didn't have better sounding music because of developers, that's the wrong thing to say. It's like, well, had you designed it better, then they could have done it better. Shut up, Jim. And speaking of designs, here's one thing I'll say Sega did really well. They made the collection of Sega games very, very neat looking. One of the to that date, it was the most unique case available. Sorry about that, guys. Had a little bit of a technical issue with my camera.
Of course you did, Brian. You're on a roll lately.
Yeah. But, yeah, so going back, like, Sega made this really great ability to collect story games. That's all well and good. But why didn't you put that same effort into making it an easy console to design music? Like, that was clearly a better choice you made than a lot of choices Sega made. And let's not even get to the fucking controller, as Jim will love to defend it. And it's fine. You can say it's comfortable in your hands. Cool. But when the core functionality and the ability to play games on your system that require more than 3 buttons, that is a inherent problem. And you don't even have fucking bumpers. Like, that...
Okay, you know what? Fuck bumpers.
Shut up. You need bumpers because, like any good game, you need... if you want to go back to the arcades and just like, literally, you're like, oh, let me just put one more button than the NES. It's the laziest design decision because whoever developed that shit, from the get-go, all they cared about was fuck the NES. And that's why, like, Sega in general, and a lot of their fans, like you, tend to have that attitude. You're the ones always like... oh man, well fuck the Super NES, because like you're always comparing yourself because you're trying to measure up to something you're not. Like you're always like sitting there like, we're good because we did this. We have blast processing. It's some shit that really didn't mean anything, but it's a marketing technique. Or like that controller was dog shit. And everyone who had a Genesis, as soon as you could, you got a third-party controller because you had to. Because every game outside of the first probably year, I don't even know the first earliest titles for Sega Genesis, I'm sure even some of them could have benefited from having a 6-button controller. So when the core console itself has issues like that, and you add in the fact with the games, and then you got this cocky-ass fan base that tries to make these arguments that people sometimes don't even ask the question to, and you started it all by trying to be a bully and punch down, then I say, you're overrated. It's not saying you're a bad console. It's not saying you don't have some really good games. But because of your fan base, you become overrated. It's kind of like the Patriots.
Wait, you're calling Sega bully from fucking Nintendo, the company that would tell retailers, we won't carry your games if you carry Sega games, or if you make third-party games for this console? That kind of bully? That kind of shit?
You mean when they said, hey, there's people that were bullying us, we don't want to associate with them?
No, that's not how it went at all.
Jim, stop victim blaming. Basically, if you're a Sega fanboy, you probably don't think the whole thing that happened 2 weeks ago was real.
Ooh. Ooh,
that is Nancy White or whatever her name is.
Man, that is a fuck. Stretch Armstrong couldn't stretch that far. Holy shit! And for your little punching down thing, look, there's nothing else out there. Sega was the head of the class at the time when it came out.
No, you can't act like it. What their whole marketing.
They just got their dick kicked in on the Master System by the NES. NES was still top dog, so even then they were punching up because they had to punch up.
But that's my point. Like they made a shitty console with the Master System, and I know there's a lot of people that love it.
Yeah, it's called the UK.
And I'm saying like I was always fine with the Master System, but Sega came along and they were like tryhards. They tried too hard with their mark. Like, I felt like that system from the get-go was always just a marketer's idea of like, they had a few really, really great games that were like, okay, we can show this thing can do some stuff. But then it just like stopped. And whatever issues with, I don't know enough about the hardware. I don't know enough about this, but it's pretty well documented, especially at this point. Games had issues with sound because of this and that. Like Jim's saying, the timelessness of the games, you can be a hardcore gamer and love them, but they're not going to be as well remembered ever. So it's one of those deals. I just have an issue if people were just like, yeah, man, it's a really great console. But every time you talk to a Sega fan, they can't help but being like, but the Super NES has it. And as Jim pointed out, he actually strengthen my argument by starting this all off with just being like, well, for the babies that like stories and but the sound is better. So you're already admitting that the sound's better on Super NES because it came out 3 years
because that's what everyone says. Oh, but the Genesis sound shit. Point. They always they started before I do. They always compare before I do.
I am not saying, I have never said the Genesis sounds like shit. I said it has a unique sound.
I think you have.
But what I've said is
we'll go to the tape.
There are games that you compare Genesis and Super NES, and you just talk about the grindy nature of that Genesis sound. And I know you like to say whatever, reverby or whatever, and I'll give it to you. Some Super NES games, they don't, like, I prefer the sound of some Genesis games, Super NES. But good dear God, you can't meet a Genesis fan without somehow they're right away saying how this is somehow better than that. It's like Genesis fans that are too hardcore sometimes are like vegans. Like, you're not going to shut the fuck up about it. It's like, get over it. It was a good console, but stop acting like it was the end all be all of good consoles.
Well, like
there's a point where you need to stop.
Here's like a thing that I will always say, and I think I said it ages ago. Like, it was one of the earlier podcasts, or even when we were calling our podcast segments the podcast before we made like the official podcast 8 years ago. Super NES has way more of the AAA, like I said earlier, AAA Thomas titles. Like Sega, like as much as I love the Genesis, it doesn't have the stuff that can touch Link to the Past, can't touch Super Mario World, doesn't touch Super Metroid, shit like that. I think overall the Genesis library has a lot more in that very good category than the Super NES does, but the Super NES has way more like truly, like they have more excellent, but it's a smaller number, where the Genesis has a ton more of the very good category, but it's the excellence that the people remember through the rest of the time. So that's what you're fighting here.
But the problem with a lot of the Sega and you're not. I mean, I would disagree. I think Sega Super NES, you discount a lot of RPGs right off the bat, and that's like I don't even like trying to semi-defend those because they're not my cup of tea.
No, and I mean, like, I admit that, like, yeah, if you throw RPGs, yeah, then I'm probably using my bias against RPGs with that. Because you throw Final Fantasy 4 and 6, you throw Chrono Trigger, you throw Breath of Fire, you throw Secret of Mana, you throw Earthbound, all that shit like that, then, yeah, it's probably even more excellent, timeless ones you can throw up there.
But, like I said, and once again, Sega, You have plenty of great games. What I felt like Sega always failed in is, and here's maybe where I'll even give them the credit, is they seem to they tried to do more unique and edgy games, but a lot of them, like Eternal Champions is a great example, like it just failed as a game. It was a cool idea.
They wanted that to be the Street Fighter killer so bad. They wanted that to be kill it so bad, and it just wasn't.
It just failed,
Yeah.
and that's not. It's like it is what it is, and there was a lot of games I felt like that on that system where it's like, oh, this is a cool idea. If only they could have just done X, Y, and Z. Like, it's one of those. The fans are why I think it's overrated. It's not like you said. The controller, I'm not joking about. I still can't believe that shit. The sound.
Probably it was 3 years before the Super NES controller.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
It's
3
like
years
one
is
of
an
those-
eternity. It's an eternity.
But Jim, that's like saying like, okay, they weren't smart enough to have the foresight for that. Like the
NES added one button. Fuck.
But here, NES had 2 buttons.
Well, they added one from the Atari. Let's put it that way.
But
Or they had 7 less than the ColecoVision. If you want to go that way.
But my whole point is, you are the face of the new generation. So you should have.
I'm Bret Hart. I'm Bret Hart. Holy shit! I'm Bret Hart. Yeah.
Exactly. And what did he do? That was probably one of the worst periods in WWF history.
6-time champion. Eternally
Still
loved.
pretty worse. So
Eternally bitter, just like me.
That's my point. Is like Sega. Like I'll give it all its props, but if the fans weren't the way they were, if they didn't talk the way they did, if there could just be some self-humbling of like, yeah, some of these songs, not just I like this because it has that Sega sound. It's like that's not a good enough answer, man. There's sometimes you hear a soundtrack and you're like, that does not. I don't care what you say, even if it seems like they made a really complicated melody. It came through like goddamn garbage going through a goddamn garbage train. Like, what are you doing? And there's never that point, I feel like, with Sega fans. Like Super NES fans, I feel like there are those hardcore, which you and I know I'm not a huge fan of. But at the same time, they're usually just so bonerific about like the main first-party titles that they don't even have time to bash Sega. But like if Sega pulls Super NES fanboys out of the woodwork, then they'll start really going hard in the paint on them. But it's always Sega, I feel like, looking for that fight. Like, we're better because of this. Because we had, fucking blast processing. It's like, come on, man. What are you doing? Just acknowledge it. And furthermore, the nerd is on my side.
That is Nintendo fanboy. Whatever.
So, like I said, we want you guys to comment. We know, especially on Twitter.
I know how this is going to... We know how it's going to go.
No. Here's the deal. I think this is one, given our fan base, because of who you follow and what we do on Twitter. Twitter, I'm going to be lit up. YouTube, it's gonna be interesting. I think I probably went way hard in the paint on Sega. But it's also one of those deals where... And
here's the thing. I'm not saying that like the Genesis is the better console. Like, if I'm going to be truthful, this Super NES, it is the better console. But I still say the Genesis is underrated. I'll go that way. That's what the question is here.
I know, but here's my deal. I've never heard anyone say that Genesis is overrated. I feel like everyone makes that argument. It's underrated. So that's why I almost have to go. It's like saying like, it's like someone saying like, oh well, clearly Super Mario Brothers is underrated. It's like, well, has anyone ever said it's overrated? Like no one's ever said.
Probably some hardcore Sonic fanboys have said that.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, even Super NES fans would never really try to argue that the Genesis is overrated.
Right.
I'm doing it partial devil's advocate, partial to piss you off.
As you always do.
But Jim.
It makes it spicy.
Jim, you can give me some credit. I know how to argue.
Oh, you know how to bullshit. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
That's all arguing is bullshitting, Jim.
They don't call you Brian Bullshit Quinn for nothing, Bri. Even I have to painfully admit that.
So, guys, and 2 girls, listening, please let us know below. Do you think it's overrated? Do you think it's
We're up to
overrated?
2?
Let us know. I think we're up to 2, Jim.
Holy shit.
Let us know what you guys think below. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. But before we do, once again, I truly want to say thank you all for watching. If you do enjoy it, please make sure you hit like, but more importantly, hit subscribe. You can listen to us on iTunes, on Spotify, on Stitcher Radio. We're pretty much available anywhere. And on any of those platforms, please make sure you subscribe there as well. And if you can, give us a rating. It would really mean a lot to us.
Leave a review, even if you hate us. Leave a fucking 5-star review and bash us. Like, all we can ask. Just give us that little bit.
Absolutely. So with that, everyone, have a good night and cheers.
Cheers.